Members are giving themselves a pay raise. Do you guys deserve a pay raise?
Well, that's news to me.
We don't have a choice. We have to fund those. We have to fund FEMA. We have to fund our farmers.
I mean, it's just swamp's going to swamp, right? 1,400 pages. Still haven't seen the text.
Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go.
We love Speaker Mike Johnson, just not today. Welcome to John Mike Keene, as we're here to throw our buddy, Speaker Mike Johnson, under the bus. You guys know I'm a huge fan, long time from the beginning, but he is making the biggest wrong move on the CR, the continuing resolution funding of the government, that he's under pressure. It is not paid for. It's borrowing more money against our debt. This is not why Trump won an election. We'll get into all the details, but first, here's Dick Durbin learning that the continued resolution actually gives him a raise.
Members are giving themselves a pay raise. Do you guys deserve a pay raise?
Well, that's news to me. It's good news. You know, what has it been, 10 years or 14 years and no COLA, no change at all? I think it's about time something's done.
You support giving yourselves a pay raise?
How would I not know about a pay raise?
But I mean, people look at the performance of Congress and say, why should we give them more money?
What about the media? Think about that for a second.
And we're not paid by public money.
I know you're not, but I mean, half of your listeners are not there anymore. You're still getting the same paycheck? What's going on?
Well, I mean, your taxpayer money. I mean, you guys deserve a raise.
Because holy smokes, Dick Durbin just smoked the living daylights out of CNN. Half your listeners aren't even here. So we like when Democrats are taking out the sharp knives against each other. Oh man, that was a killer. What about you, media? Yes, they should get a pay cut also. But Dick Durbin, one of the things that you ought to recognize is, you know, this bill, it's like hundreds and hundreds of pages long and no one's even read it and they're supposed to vote on it. This is stupid. Mike Johnson, Speaker Mike Johnson, don't you dare sign this bill. Now he's going to go on Fox News, and Fox News, who are all pro-bloated budget and pro-spending, remember, we're going to have to do some bad things if this doesn't pass, because this does pay for two things that they're pushing in the media right now. Number one is a farmer's bill. They're paying farmers out of government pork. Number two, they're paying for hurricane victim relief out of this pork. So that's what they're going to put in front of you, thinking you're dumb, because in the meanwhile, they're going to give a pay raise for all of our government, all of our people, is what's really going to happen. And extend all kinds of things like COVID mask mandates. There's so much pork and garbage, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of things that we shouldn't be paying for. They should go through line item and cut a bunch of this stuff out. But they just, I don't get why Mike Johnson's going, we have to fund this, we have to fund this, we have to fund this. It's for the farmers. It is not for the farmers, guys.
We don't have a choice. We have to fund those. We have to fund FEMA. We have to fund our farmers.
Right. And Mr. Speaker, it's not just, so you've got a bunch of Republicans who are angry at you. They don't like this. And just in a couple of weeks, you're going to stand once again to run for Speaker of the House. And you don't need a bunch of Democrats mad at you. But you know, and this is breaking news you do not know. You know who also does not like this? Elon Musk, the world's richest man, just tweeted, this bill should not pass. The only way you're going to be able to pass it now, Mr. Speaker, is with Democrats. If you could, what's your message to Elon Musk?
Well, I was communicating with Elon last night. Elon and Vivek and I are on a text chain together. And I was explaining to them the background of this. And Vivek and I talked last night about almost midnight. And he said, look, I get it. He said, we understand you're in an impossible position. Everybody knows that. Remember, guys, we still have just a razor-thin margin of Republicans. So any bill has to have Democrat votes.
Any bill has to have Democrat votes. That's, you know what the American people think? I'm going to ask you guys right now. Let me know in the comments below. Do you think, as a MAGA voter, that we have to pass this bill? Or would you rather shut down the government? That's the one thing Mike Johnson won't do. He doesn't want to take the heat for shutting down the government. But look, the election season's over, buddy. They're not going to punish you for shutting down the government. There's no election to fear. Mike Johnson should fear the revote to see if they want him to be Speaker of the House, because you are sitting on a razor's edge. And if you pass this bill, And he's got Doge right now. Elon Musk saying, do not pass this bill. And Vivek Ramaswamy, who tweeted earlier also saying, I have not been able to read this entire bill. And he says, neither has anyone in the Senate. So they're voting to pass this thing, which Dick Durbin already said, none of them have read. They haven't read it. It is so full of pork. And right now I'm seeing a bunch of people on X. They're running it through an AI program, through Elon Musk's AI program called Grok. And they're putting every page of it through Grok. And the AI is calling out how many billions of dollars of wasted spending there is in pork. Normal government, stupid government programs. Pro-trans, pro-this, pro-that, all just the government programs that we all hate. And there's poor Speaker Mike Johnson, who doesn't have enough Republican votes to get it through because our people are not in office yet. He absolutely has to shut down the government and wait. He has to, because on November 5th, the voters gave him a mandate. They gave him a blank check that he can't cash until January 20th. So shut it down for a month. He doesn't want to do it. I think he's going to have to. If he's got balls, he has to do it.
They understand the situation. They said, it's not directed to you, Mr. Speaker, but we don't like the spending. I said, guess what, fellas? I don't either. We got to get this done because here's the key. By doing this, we are clearing the decks and we are setting up for Trump to come in roaring back with the America First agenda. That's what we're going to run with gusto beginning January 3rd when we start the new Congress, when Republicans, again, are in control. And all of our fiscal conservative friends, I'm one of them, will be able to finally do the things that we've been wanting to do for the last couple of years. Right now, Democrats still control the pens, and that's the problem. So we got to get this thing done so we don't have the shutdown, so we get the short-term funding measure, and we get to March where we can put our fingerprints on the spending. That's when the big changes start, and we can't wait to get there.
Right. I mean, it's just swamp's going to swamp, right? 1,400 pages. Still haven't seen the text. Multiple subject matters. Important healthcare legislation in the context of extenders piled on the back of a 3-month CR with about $110 billion unpaid for, $25 billion in healthcare policy, half of which is fake pay for, being sold that is paid for because they're gimmicks and shuffling around the decks.
That's Chip Roy with some truth about this bill, just going, the swamp's going to swamp. Guys, the swamp is still alive. Now, Mike Johnson, in his defense, says, look, this is just to fund the government through March. That's only semi-true because I'm seeing stuff in this spending bill, right? It doesn't mean that the bills are just being paid through March because it's collecting money and guaranteeing payouts in some cases for people through 2029. It's going out 4 years, guaranteeing payments for 4 years. So it's promising money in the future to a Democrat-run world where the Democrats lost an election and they're still getting their payments extended out for their favorite pork projects, their favorite government projects. And I'm only saying if Mike Johnson is serious about only funding the government through March of next year, I'm saying, fine, make sure that this spending bill does not pay for anything beyond March of 2025, and then I'll believe you. I'm seeing too much stuff where it's paying for stuff years and years and years into the future. It's the Democrats realizing they lost an election. They're about to get kicked out of power, kicked out of managing the purse strings. So they're trying to pay for federal bureaucracies, set aside the money for years in advance. It should only do it through March.
Things like E15, which we didn't even have a full debate on. This is not the way to do business, right? And so, we said we'd do something different. And since we've been given the majority again, we're adding $30 billion in literally totally unpaid for additional deficit spending just since November 5th in 45 days. I don't see how that's doing what we're supposed to be doing.
How much of the blame falls on the speaker?
Yeah, I mean, right now we'll keep trying to move forward. The conference itself owns this, right? And the conference needs to decide whether we're actually serious about spending. And they talk about, well, we got to do mandatory spending reform and bend the curve. But we just voted on a $200 billion shift of dollars in Social Security that's going to shorten the time when Social Security expires.
And once again, they're tapping into Social Security to help pay for stuff. They don't know what they're doing. They are fighting against the mandate, the direction that the people told them to do back on November 5th. On November 5th, the voters have said, overwhelming majority with both houses of Congress and the presidency saying, cut that spending. Quit spending it on this wasteful boondoggle pork for all your constituents because you want to build a bridge in your home state and name it after yourself. Cut that garbage out. Even to a point of Elon Musk is flat out saying this bill should not pass. Now, this is a very interesting conundrum because Mike Johnson, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Elon Musk have all become friends. They're all friends. They're on a text together. They've been texting every night. Like he said, he's been texting with Elon and Vivek till midnight last night. Mike Johnson has. Now, he is about to screw them over, and they're going to have to break way from him. They're going to disagree with him. So we have Mike Johnson saying, pass this thing, and you have Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, who are in charge of cutting spending, saying, do not fund this thing. This is very interesting to me because Speaker Johnson, this goes into the difference between their jobs. Speaker Johnson was elected by the people and then elected by the Senate. And Vivek and Elon Musk, who I agree with, but they were not elected. They're appointed in a new made up thing called DOGE, Department of Government Oversight. And, they're trying to cut back the government.
So real quick, I know you have to go, but President-elect Donald Trump has yet to weigh in publicly on this spending deal. Have you spoken to him about it?
Yeah, well, I was in constant contact with President Trump and his team, the chief of staff, and all the domestic policy advisors. They know exactly what we're doing and why. And I was on a text chain last night with Elon and Vivek about DOGE because I'm super excited about that. And I said, guys, these are the necessary things. They don't like spending either. They said, we know this is not you personally, Mr. Speaker, and we got to get through this. So, look, everybody understands the necessity. It is not palatable. This is the sausage-making part of legislation that nobody likes, but we're governing. And we'll pick it up in January and start a brand new day for America.
So he's essentially punting and going, look, we'll start this next year when we have our mandate by the election, when we're actually in office. I think people want a little more fight from him. I think we want a little more of a threat of a shutdown. That's what we want. Because he could go in and just go, look, guys, I'm not going to pass anything until everyone's on board and I can at least get the... Steve Ducey was saying like, oh, the Republicans are mad at you, so now you have to get Democrats to vote for it, and now you're going to have to compromise on even more. No, how about get every Republican to vote for it and cut what has to be cut to get guys like Thomas Massey on board so you don't have to go over to the Democrats and do all their trans spending. I'm John Mike Keene.